Yes, indeed. Welcome into episode 77 of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. My defensive partner for today is at Fuzzy Chris 91. Doesn't really back check, but that's fine. We'll work with him. We are our line mate Ant Rivera 86, new Papa. It's going to be on a bit of a hiatus for the next, probably a couple of months. He'll pop in here and there when we talk some Devils, but I'll be a defensive pairing here on Total Hockey Now for the next couple of months. And yes, it is NBA trade deadline day. Yes, the Super Bowl is on Sunday, but there's still hockey to go on. Chris, how we doing?
I mean, I will say this. I accidentally blocked a shot on Monday. So I'm basically David Savard now. I mean, I'm a shot blocking king. Maybe not to the like Chris Tanev level yet, but I mean, if I block a second one accidentally, that's where I'm going. And yes, there's a ton of hockey. This is the best time of the year. First of all, we have international. Let's call it what it is, right? The NHL paying for a subprime version of the Olympics. We got that. And there's a lot of other teams that are going to let us down. So we can turn this slate into some money. I hear eggs are expensive. So, that's what we're here to do. Buy some eggs.
We're gonna hopefully make you a little money so you can make an omelet here and there. Also, we'll be doing plenty of Four Nation face-off preview. We'll talk a little later about the Thursday 9-game NHL slate. A little bit of news to get to first. So without further ado, let's do that here. Let's get the quick hits. And first up is going to be the odometer. The Alexander Ovechkin odometer is now currently sitting at, I believe, 878. That's right. He got an empty net goal that just beat the buzzer against the Panthers the other night. So he is 17 away from breaking Gretzky's record. You're going to get sick of me hearing me say this, but man, that March 15th game against the Sharks that I'm going to, get me close to history if you're not going to get me history.
Yeah, that's fair. Ovi continues to do things that are fantastic. I hear a lot of people I guess they just hate this time of year, but they're like, oh, he's got so many empty net goals. And I'm like, who cares? Like, they don't ask you how. All we are asking him is how many. And the number is 878. That's the number. I could care less if every other goal he scores is an empty net goal, because they count on the score sheet. They look exactly the same. So,
because Wayne Gretzky's 894 goals, none of those were empty netters. Not a single one of them were an empty netter.
Right. It's not like, players score empty net goals, right? You still have to score. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the losing end of a puck line because some player standing basically 10 feet from the net can't put it into the gaping cage. So Ovi clearly has no problem. He is, throughout his entire career, has had no problem finding the back of the net, whether there is a goalie or no goalie, or whether he's on his back, not facing the net. It does not matter. His sixth sense is putting the puck in the net. And if he's not going to do it next year against Montreal, he might as well do it in San Jose. You imagine the party though he could have there. Nice weather, maybe,
I mean, it's a road trip, so who knows? They probably get to go off to the next place, but maybe he'll invite me because I mean, we all saw the way that they partied after they won the cup over Vegas that year. So that's a party you want to be a part of. And for people like, oh, he's got too many empty net goals. He's got 63. Gretzky's got 56. You're making it seem like Gretzky had like 25 empty net goals. He's got 56 of 894.
And let's I'm not going to take anything away from Wayne because he's obviously earned it. But let's some of those goalies and their styles and their equipment or the way that they played, basically an empty net. So, you know what I mean? I don't care. First of all, always on the ice still at the end. He's got to be somewhat defensively responsible, right? Because you're out there when you're short a guy, technically. And, we know that Ovi throughout his career has not been a two-way forward at all times, but he's still out there. Carberry's got him out there saying, hey, you can have your empty net goal, but you got to be sound defensively. You got to be ready. You got to be responsible. And he's answered it.
And anybody that's actually played the game of hockey understands that an empty net goal is just not a gimme. It's not like, oh, there's the empty net goal, going to fire it down and go in. There's a lot of things going on that, I mean, you see how many times empty net goals go wide. So, again, let's calm down with, oh, he's got so many more than Gretzky. He's got 7 more over the course of 800 something goals. Like, let's settle. NHL injury report. Nico Hischier was placed on the injury reserve, but he resumed skating for the Devils and could return after the Four Nations face-off. Simon Nemec was called up in a corresponding move. Are we potentially showcasing Nemec for a trade here?
I mean, he doesn't seem happy in New Jersey. Seems like he wants to play a little bit more, and maybe the Devils don't feel like he is there yet, but there will certainly be no shortage of teams lining up for a young, big defenseman who can skate. So, and also, like, I feel like there's probably room on that Devils blue line for him. That's like somewhere, but I don't know. I feel like it's deeper than that. I feel like there's something else that's just not working, and we just don't know about it. But I feel like maybe, I don't know, a couple games here and there, see what he's cooking.
I mean, Siegenthaler is still out of the lineup, so that's whose spot he's taking, at least for now, in terms of the active 6. Yeah, I sense a little bit of showcasing here, but we'll see how things go with the Devils here on the blue line. Sidney Crosby misses a second straight practice due to an upper body injury after a collision with Luke Hughes in Tuesday's game against New Jersey. When asked after the game to clarify about his collision, all he would say is he got tangled up, even when he was specifically asked specifically about his elbow. So, Crosby playing it close to the vest, no surprise there. At this point, I think we care more about Crosby's health for the Four Nations face-off than we do for the Penguins at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is he left that game, came back, finished it. So that was encouraging. He was at practice for a little bit, then skated by himself, didn't take any shots. But I can't imagine this being too serious. The Penguins obviously want him to exercise a crazy amount of caution for, a multitude of reasons, of course. But I don't think his spot in the Four Nation is in jeopardy yet. It would suck. That's for sure. It would be terrible, but I don't know, man. Hockey players are built different breed. I can't imagine him not being there unless he really isn't okay to play.
I mean, and Crosby, who has a knack for crushing American hearts in international tournaments, that's another reason why you want him there in the tournament. So I think he'll be back soon. I think, like you said, they're just playing a little extra cautious here. No reason to rush him back a game too soon if another game or so is what he needs. Owen Tippett still remains out for the Flyers with an upper body injury and won't return until after the Four Nations face-off. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is close to returning to the lineup and could do so this weekend against Nashville. The Sabre goalie sustained a lower body injury in the morning skate on Tuesday and did not make the start, even though he was supposed to, against the Blue Jackets on Tuesday. We'll talk more about him in the Four Nations face-off later as well.
It's just the Buffalo Sabres, man. If it's not somebody getting hurt, it's them needing a meeting to remind themselves that they're a team and they need to take care of the rest of each other. So, like, when someone hits your best player, you should probably, you should probably at least have a somewhat reaction. This isn't the first time Buffalo hasn't had a reaction. If you think about Ryan Miller and how he had to defend himself, just Buffalo, man.
I mean, listen,
at least at one point, we could care about them as a team. Now I feel like I still don't care about them as a city. Like, my apologies, Buffalo, just an L tier city. And now the team is regressing. We're not making any progress. There's no palm trees, ton of state tax. Your team's not winning. There's nothing good in Buffalo. Where's the positive here?
For the record, this half of Total Hockey Now today actually enjoyed his one weekend in Buffalo, so I'll just leave it at that. When I went to go visit the Falls and actually went to a Capital Sabres game at the KeyBank Center. I don't know if it's still called that now, but that's what it was called back then. The Tage Thompson thing was a joke. Like, I understand the season's kind of a lost cause, but when we get on Lindy Ruff from time to time about how it wasn't a good hire and the game has passed him by, the fact that he did have a meeting with his team to remind him of exactly what you said, of when your best player gets hit like that, there needs to be a response. And I get maybe in a lost season, that passion, that fire, maybe he's not at a 10, maybe it's at a 7.5 or an 8. But man, your best player, that if that doesn't wake you up, nothing's going to wake you up. I'm sorry. Like, I see that and I'm on the ice, I'm going right after him. I don't care if I get suspended. You don't do that to Tage Thompson. You don't do that to our top player and our future.
I guess it's just like players keep talking about how it's a, those players are your family and you'll do anything for there. It seems like there is no family in Buffalo to let Tage just take that and you know not even not even a sniff of like, hey, like you have to we've seen a lot less happen and players have to answer the bell. And I know some people don't like that and it is what it is and the unwritten rules and the code and like that's fine. You can argue all of that, but at the end of the day, for something like that, it was a high hit. You could probably at least go up, have at least a decent shoving match if you want. I don't know.
So I'll say this. Yes, like I don't like the trend of like, oh, it was a good clean hit, but now I got to go defend him just because my guy got laid out. I don't love that, but I would rather that than the no response for my guy getting his clock clean,
Yeah, I mean, just, I don't know. It's like, go up to him and be like, hey, man, like, next time you do it, you know what I mean? Like, I'll put your head through a board, like, don't do it, but you know what I mean? Like, send a message, be like, hey, you get one crack, and the next time, I'll crack you, kind of thing.
Exactly. There's a way to do it, and they did not handle it right. Now, we got a couple more notes to get to before we get to the Four Nations face-off here, but a couple of comments in the chat. Got a new subscriber here, Rick Kane. We won't hold the Leafs logo against you. I picked them to win the division this year. I'm not anti-Leaf. Loves the Expos hat, and you also has one.
Man. Oh, man. You looked at the Expos hat, and I'm glad you showed up, Rick. Listen to whatever this was and went, yeah, I'll come back for it. Good. Maybe the only thing we could share in common, Rick, is our not love for Buffalo. I don't know how you feel about the city, but I mean that's about as far as we can go, Rick. Right? We're not, if the Montreal Canadiens make the playoffs and we face each other, I just want you to know it's not personal. Welcome in. You'll understand. You'll understand. If you unsubscribe at any point, it's probably because of me. I apologize in advance.
Now, we got another comment in the chat, a regular here, State of Survival. He wants to talk about the Islanders' blue line. What does Chris think of the Isles D-men? Lots of former first and second rounders. We are heating up. Sorokin will be league-leading goalie for the second half of the season. The Islanders' current defensive pairings, you got Tony DeAngelo with Alexander Romanov, Adam Pelech with Scott Perunovich, Dennis Kulowski with Adam Boquist. Now, the Boquist pickup I thought was great because he is a former first-round talent. He's not sticking anywhere. The Islanders had nothing on the blue line. You've got nothing to lose by giving that guy a chance. I know what people say about Tony DeAngelo, but all the BS nonsense, locker room issues aside, the guy would be a third pairing defenseman in the NHL if he could just figure out how to get along in a locker room. Because it's not just a political thing. It wasn't just the Rangers. It's every locker room. Even in Russia, they're like, no, get this guy out of here. So he's got a shelf life of when he's going to wear his welcome out. He hasn't done it. It's a new place. He hasn't done it yet. But, I mean, he does have the pair. If he was able to exist in a locker room, I think he would have a job as like a Shane Gostisbehere third pairing kind of guy.
I'll give him credit. He's come in and he's been useful. He's playing a lot of minutes, and the whole group. I'll give you this, man. I mean, you go to bat for the Islanders more than I think anybody should, but you are right. They are playing well defense. They are winning hockey games. In no way is it exciting though, because I have not watched any of those games, but they are winning hockey games and they're doing it without Noah Dobson. I mean, Barzell's hurt, and this is a typical Islanders team built from the back end out. Sorokin has been very good. As an owner of Ilya Sorokin in fantasy hockey, I'm very happy that he is getting this long leash kind of with Varlamov being out. He's playing a lot of games. He is playing well. I don't think anybody questions about whether Sorokin can be good or not. The question is whether the team in front of him can support him. They've been really good since mid-January. So something's working. Something's working.
So going back to January 5th, they had a 3-game winning streak, lost 2, and then they won 7 in a row before dropping the game to Florida and then beat the Golden Knights the other night. Yeah, Sorokin, sometimes a goalie just needs an opportunity to play through whatever they're doing. And that's, sometimes a double-edged sword of having a real high-quality backup like Varlamov, where it's like you want to give Sorokin every chance to get through his stuff, but, if Varlamov's going to give you a quality effort, you still have games to win. So Varlamov gets hurt, Sorokin gets a chance to play through it. Like you said, the improved play of the blue line. And I'm not saying the Islanders are going to play themselves into the playoff picture or anything like that, but that last wild card spot in the East is wide open right now. If we're going to assume the 4 teams in the Atlantic that we've talked about all year long, Florida, Toronto, Boston, and who's escaping in Tampa Bay, then and we know Carolina, New Jersey, and Washington are cruising along. New Jersey stumbled. That last spot's wide open. Could be the Rangers. Could be anybody.
They may have to become buyers. Like that's the thing. And Lou Lamoriello's never been shy to buy at the deadline. Like he brought in Bo Horvat once upon a time, and I don't think anybody thought that the Islanders were going to be buyers at that point. So I don't know what to expect for them, but I mean, look, it's good for their fan base. They're having a moment. You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. And I guess at some point the Islanders might squeak into a playoff spot and then get absolutely obliterated in 4. But.
Well, that's the thing. Like if they do squeak in, that's on a team I'm picking for a first round upset. And that's not to discount the fact that Ottawa and Detroit out of the Atlantic, it may be 5 teams out of the Atlantic and only 3 out of the Metro this year. So, the Islanders, I kind of feel like they're playing like they're overachieving and they will come back down to earth a little bit there. Columbus right there in the mix as well. So basically the only teams that I would say don't have a chance at that wild card spot are Buffalo and Philly right now, and Pittsburgh probably on that list too. Yeah, I saw the look. You were waiting to see if I was going to say Montreal. I'm not ready to put them on that list yet, but they are circling the drain, we'll say.
Look, I am exhausted from having watched those late West Coast games. As someone who lives on the East Coast, those are brutal. The game against San Jose I was like, I can't believe I'm up for this. And then yesterday, watching Montreal get absolutely ragdolled by the LA Kings, and I was like, I don't know why I put myself through this type of like pain. Like I knew what was going to happen here, right? That they walk into LA on a back-to-back. The LA Kings are bigger, stronger, faster, everything, and it showed. And they went on that streak where they were feeling confident and everything was good. Winning cures everything. They were winning, and that was all that mattered. And they were picking up points and expecting it. Now Montreal's top line doesn't look good. Defensively, they've been a mess. The goaltending is now not regressed, but it's come back down to the median where it should be. And when goalies aren't standing on their head, the Montreal Canadiens look like a team that is not a playoff team. So see if they can turn it around in the next few weeks, but I am not confident. Not you say.
And here's the other thing too. Like you look at that California road trip. Okay, they lose at Anaheim. They beat San Jose. The last team you want to play on the back end of a back-to-back is the Kings, because they will just grind you down, and that is exactly what happened in that game. Maybe they would have had a little success if the San Jose LA games were flipped around. Maybe they could have got both, but yeah, it's you needed to win 2 of those 3, and you didn't. And we'll see what happens.
It's terrible travel. You had to go from Anaheim all the way up to San Jose, and then come all the way back to LA. It's
like an hour, 10-minute flight, bud. It's not that long.
Look, man, these are hockey players. Okay, they're little babies. If you play an afternoon game, it messes up with their naps and everything. You know what I mean? Just cut some of the travel. You still gotta go through customs, I assume, or I don't know, check passports.
No, I mean, once you're in the state, like you don't have to go through it again. I mean, yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to find an excuse.
Yeah, I know, and I'm shooting them all down, my friend. Yeah. I mean, Anaheim, LA, usually you do those back to back, but San Jose is not that long. It's like I said, it's like an hour and change flight. It's not very far. Go back and forth up and down the coast. A couple more items here. Speaking about the West Coast here, newly acquired Canucks defenseman Marcus Pettersson signed a 6-year extension worth $33 million with the Canucks. He was set to become an unrestricted free agent after the season. He is also now the 3rd Pettersson on the roster, with Elias and Elias Nils. They'll all be starring in a new sitcom coming out this summer called Pettersson's Place. But in all seriousness, they made the major shakeup that they needed to. JT Miller sent out for Philip Hedl. Do we think the Canucks have the right mix now to play closer to last year's level? Because let's face it, it was bad when JT Miller and Elias just weren't getting along, even though they denied it. They've massively changed over the roster now. So it's time to actually start playing better hockey.
No excuses anymore. That's it. Elias Pettersson was the guy I guess they chose to keep, whether it was based on the return that they could get, whether it was based on other things. But now Elias Pettersson is the leader offensively of this team. So he's got to find a way to cook, because since signing his massive deal, he has not been very good. So I guess if you are a Pettersson, you will end up in Vancouver. It's not a if, it's a question of when. But Marcus Pettersson a little bit underrated here. I think he got lost a little bit in Pittsburgh behind Erik Karlsson, Letang. He is a very good defenseman. He's not one of those guys who may light it up offensively, but he is sound in his own end. He can, he can block shots, throws a little bit of weight around. He's a very good overall complete defenseman. And the deal that he signed to it's not expensive when you consider the salary cap's going to go up by like 20 some odd percent over the next 3 years. It's a good deal, and this is good for Vancouver in general, because if you're going to struggle to score goals, then at least you want to be good for the back end out. So they have a elite goalie in Thatcher Demko. Defensively, Quinn Hughes is there, and Philip Hronik has been good since coming over. Now you add Pettersson there. You have Tyler Myers, who can be serviceable. They have guys there that can defend, big bodies who can play, skate. So at least defensively, they shouldn't be an issue. Now it's up to the offense, it's up to Elias Pettersson and the rest of them to, get going here.
Now, of course, Quinn Hughes is out, and his status for the Four Nations face-off is uncertain, so that's not something you want to see. So the timing of the Pettersson trade and the extension, that certainly helps, because otherwise it would not be great. It would be very thin on that blue line, if nothing else. But yeah, I think Vancouver, they got that win over the Avalanche the other night. They played Detroit close in overtime. They're at San Jose tonight. This is a great spot to get some momentum and get going against a Sharks team that has not looked good as of late. And then they come home for Toronto, and then they go back out on the road for a 5-game road trip. So we'll see how the Canucks gel here. And sometimes going on the road is good, because it forces everybody to hang out together. And you got a lot of new personalities and faces in the locker room. That'll give them a chance to bond. I'll see if that can strengthen that a little bit. We'll stay on the West Coast again here. John Gibson played in career game 500 on Tuesday against the Dallas Stars, becoming the first Anaheim goalie to play that many games with the franchise. His name has been in trade rumors so many times over the last few seasons. And with Dostal is their guy of the future here, at least for the time being. Is it for sure that we're going to see Gibson get moved at the deadline, or is this going to be another year where his name's being bandied about, and then he's starting the next game for Anaheim after the deadline? I mean, I know other goalie injuries will dictate the market to a degree. If everything stays status quo, I don't know.
I guess it's up to him whether he wants to go somewhere or not at this point. Be like, hey, do you want to chase a cup? Do you want to go do you want to go out there and get it? If not, you can stay here and mentor the rest of the kids. And like you said, be a good positive light for Dostal. But I mean, there are some teams that will probably want John Gibson to come over. He's a good goalie. He's not the goalie he once was, but he can still be serviceable in a backup role when healthy. But yeah, you got to find a team. I don't know, maybe like somewhere like, I guess, Tampa Bay. Like Tampa Bay doesn't have a backup. Let's face it. It's Andrei Vasilevsky and whatever corpse is there. So, somewhere like that, if he wants to do it, maybe Anaheim retains a little bit of money to get it done. But ultimately, it's up to him and what he wants to do at this point. I can't see the Sharks forcing his hand at anything. Like, if you want to stay here, stay here.
Just taking a cursory look at the league and trying to figure out places he could land. I like your suggestion to replace Jim Johansson as the backup in Tampa Bay. I think that would be a smart move on their part. Columbus, if they're still very much in the mix at the deadline and they wanted to go with a Merzlikins, Gibson, 1A, 1B, I could see that. Detroit, if they wanted to change goalies again and have a Talbot Gibson duo. Out west, maybe I can't see the Ducks trading him to the Kings, but if the Kings are not happy with the way David Riddick's playing, that would be a destination that makes sense. Edmonton seems happy with Skinner and Pickard. I don't know if they really know there are any other teams that would go after him at that point. Maybe no. I mean, that's really it. I think those are the landing spots.
That's what I was thinking too. The goalie market right now is not there's not, which is good. There's not a ton of goalies that are hurt, so that's always a positive sign. And the teams that do need it, it's kind of like some of these teams just roll their starters out. But I just think it's more of a choice for him where he wants to go at this point, if he wants to go somewhere. If not, if he wants to finish out his career in Orange County somewhere, hang out by the beach on a random Wednesday afternoon after his nap, doesn't sound like a bad life.
Doesn't sound. Listen, you could do a lot worse than Anaheim. in terms of places to be on a bad team. So
you could be in Buffalo.
Buffalo just catching strays left and right here today. Just no mercy for Buffalo today. For Mr. Christopher Moraes at Fuzzy Chris 91 over there. So that we've gone through headlines, we've gone through the injury report here. I think let's do a little Four Nations face-off preview here. Yeah, we see it right there on the screen. We got the Four Nations face-off here. We're gonna go team by team here. We've updated the rosters with injury replacements and stuff like that. The tournament kicks off next week at the Bell Center on Wednesday with Canada, Sweden. Then we got United States, Finland on Thursday, and then Saturday we've got the rivalry night with Finland and Sweden at 1 o'clock Eastern, and then U.S. Canada at 8 o'clock Eastern. And listen, U.S. Canada doesn't need any more gasoline on the fire because it's a well-established rivalry. I was not anticipating a political climate that would throw more gasoline on this rivalry, but here we are. Maybe not quite to the Canada USSR, summit series of yesteryear, but that will be a little extra layer on that as well. So, and then it'll shift to TD Garden in Boston on Monday, February 17th. We'll have Canada, Finland, Sweden, United States, and then the championship game Thursday, February 20th, 8 o'clock on ESPN, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So why don't we take a look at Team USA here as we look at the rosters. And Quinn Hughes, obviously his status in question here, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't know who would be a good replacement for him if that was the case, but we'll see. And then McAvoy, and these are all the defensive pairings and line combos that I've taken off of NHL.com's recent articles for all four teams. So as we look at that, JT Miller there with the Rangers with Eichel and Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk on the top line, Matthews, Connor, Hughes on the second line, Larkin, Gensel, Brady Tkachuk, third line, Trocheck, Brock Nelson, Matt Boldy on the fourth line. Chris Kreider is the spare at this point, who I can say that even though I'm a Ranger fan and I love everything he's done for him, he should not be on this team. It should have been Tage Thompson. There's probably a couple other guys that could be on this team. Now, listen, maybe I'm eating my words, and he gets maybe Brock Nelson doesn't play well. He gets a chance to come in and he makes an impact, but there were other spare. The U.S. is deep enough that Kreider didn't necessarily have to be the last guy on.
I don't know what blackmail Chris Kreider has on someone to get onto this team, but like you said, Tage Thompson was left off it. Now, now he's got his concussion. We don't know how that affects him. Cole Caulfield just, is up to like 26 goals as well. So, that could have been an option, but who am I to throw out those kind of ideas?
And I get you need guys like Kreider that aren't pure goal scorers because you need guys to play in a fourth line role and stuff like that. But I mean, most of these guys are capable of bumping down a couple of lines if needed.
Yeah, and it's always nice to have guys who can score goals on an elite level. I feel like that sometimes I guess teams are built with this kind of thought that you have to build as much of a complete team, which is true to a certain extent. Like, I get that, right, for regular teams, but like, these are the best players in the world. You're telling me they can't play you're telling me JT, like, a lot of these guys play the toughest matchups every night anyways. Like they get this. This isn't new to them. They're not horrendously defensively. You know what I mean? Like, JT Miller is solid both ways of the ice. Jack Eichel is as well. I'll throw Matthews in there. Vincent Trocheck as well. Brock Nelson. All these guys are good on both ends of the ice. Like, I found out that Chris Kreider's full name is Christopher, and that has kind of like rattled me a little bit on the inside. So him and I share an exact first name, so that's unfortunate. I'm more worried about Quinn Hughes. Now,
yes,
in an unbiased opinion here, of course, if Quinn wants to sit out and go home and rest, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. But obviously Team USA would want him there because he can move the puck, he can cook. There's a lot of good things there. And we're not even going to talk about the US goaltending because that's cheating.
The US goaltending is the best goaltending in the tournament. There's no rush, there's no team rush, otherwise they would have had it. Say what you want. Look at all the goaltending. If you think one of the other three teams has a better goaltending than the United States, then please tell me what kind of weed you're smoking, because I would love to try that. If Quinn Hughes cannot go, Hannafin would be the guy to dress. But who would be the guy you would bring in to be that injury replacement? Is as easy as John Carlson? There's not a ton of like a Brady Shea, a Neil Pionk, like. We've got the best of the best, but we're pretty top heavy here. I'm sure Werenski would move up and take Hughes' place on that top pairing the way he's playing. I think he's supposed to come back tonight. I got to double check on that against Utah. But I mean, is it just as simple as saying John Carlson gets a spot and there's really nobody else you can make a strong argument for?
I was surprised John Carlson didn't make the team to start with. Reliable. He has represented his country before. He's good defensively as well, right? So I don't think that would be too much of a problem for the United States to replace him. But again, you want Quinn Hughes to be there for obvious reasons. But, with the injuries that he's dealing with here, the brace that he's playing on his hand, like how much of the Vancouver is going to tell him to be like, hey, man, why don't you just stay home? Why don't you just like how much is it up to the player now versus, his home team to be like, we just don't want you there.
I could see Matt Roy as a dark horse to maybe get that spot too, more of a well-balanced guy that, we talked about those bottom six and bottom, D pairing minutes. That's going to be important there. So right now, Team USA with Quinn Hughes, arguably top team in the tournament. Even without Quinn Hughes, I still think they're better than Finland and probably Sweden, but it's a little bit closer there. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. So we'll go through and we'll figure out who we think's going to win. I mean, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that we're probably going on a collision course between the United States and Canada, but that's why they play the tournament. Speaking of the Canadians, Sidney Crosby, we said he hasn't practiced, but right now NHL.com's got him on the top line with McDavid and McKinnon. Wow. That's all I could say about that line. Sam Reinhart, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner on the second line. In past tournaments, we've seen Crosby, Marchand, and Bergeron play together. No Bergie. I guess it's okay to break those two up. Third line, Braden Point, Brendan Hagel, and Mark Stone. And then the fourth line, Anthony Cirelli, Travis Konechny, Sam Bennett, with Seth Jarvis as the spare forward. On the blue line, Makar and Taves, they play together in Colorado. No reason to break that up. Shea Theodore and Colton Parayko from the Blues, and then Josh Morrissey and Travis Sanheim. They have not announced the Alex Pietrangelo replacement yet. So before we do like a whole roster breakdown here, and obviously Aiden Hill, Jordan Binnington, and Samuel Montembeault, who would you like to see get that as a Canadian? Because I would think Evan Bouchard is the leader in the clubhouse there. I've seen Bowen Byram's name, no. Drew Doughty, no. If Drew Doughty had played all year, maybe. Jacob Chikrin's another one I would consider. You also got Ekblad, Dougie Hamilton, Brandon Montour, Mackenzie Weegar. So, I mean, who do you want to see represent your country and take that spot?
I mean, Evan Bouchard is the easy choice here. And I get that, his defensive game is not, it's not what he's known for. And on that top power play unit, obviously Cale Makar is going to run the show, and as he should. But a defenseman with a bomb, you want one on your team, and nobody has a bomb like Evan Bouchard. I would not. Like, I wouldn't be disappointed if someone like Dougie Hamilton went, Montour, Mackenzie Weegar as well. He can, offensively he can play. Defensively, he's good. Losing Pietrangelo is not the worst thing in the world here. That's for sure. The worst thing in the world here would be, like, it's going to happen, but Drew Doughty's going to end up on this team for some reason, and it's going to be like for no reason. Like, I get that he has represented Canada before, and he has, he's done very well. He is a warrior. He has stated that he wants to play, which is all great, but that is not his spot. That there are lots of names that are better than him. I don't need Drew Doughty coming over to, as a sympathy ad here. Not at this point. We don't know how these lines are going to look. It is definitely a choice to have probably three of the best centermen ever, all playing together on one line. That's a choice.
This is from NHL.com. This is not our line projections.
Right. Which is, again, because yes, Sam Reinhart can play center. I just don't know why you would want him to do that when you have an abundant amount of centers. You know what I mean? Like, take one. I would assume it would be Crosby. I would put Crosby on that line with Marchand, and I would probably put Stone with him, because all three of those guys can play like in their own end, and they can play like everywhere. That would be my line that I would want to play the best players against, right? Marchand, Crosby, and Stone, like that is a really good two-way line. Like you're gonna have a hard time moving around there. Those guys are responsible. They can contribute offensively. I would then put, Hagel, Point, and then give them Reinhart. You know what I mean?
The Florida line.
Yeah, just put those guys. You know what I mean? Like Point and Hagel are having great seasons. Adding Reinhart to it is not going to make it worse. Like Reinhart already plays with, Barkov. He can figure it out. Reinhardt's not bad defensively. I just don't know why you would want him to play center there when you have the tools for it, right? I want to see McDavid and McKinnon play together just because. Like you're not slowing those guys down. And I'm not going to take anything away from Sid, of course, but I don't think his foot speed is up to those two. Like he's, and it's fine. It's okay. I think somebody else needs to be on that line. You could put Marner up there. You can put Reinhardt out there. There's no shortage of guys you can put up there, but you don't need a full line of, future Hall of Famers who all play center regularly on one line. That is not it.
I'll go back to Doughty for a second. If I'm the Kings, I actually want him to play in the tournament because he just came back from injury and now he's going to sit for a week and a half. That's, you can make the argument an older player may want that, but not after he didn't play all year and he's had maybe barely a month back, not even. So I would want him to get on this team just to stay active for the next week and a half. Looking at the goaltending here, in hindsight, maybe Logan Thompson not making the team. Apparently he was purposely not picked for some reason. Maybe just not a great guy in the locker room, but nonetheless, you're rolling with Aiden Hill, Jordan Binnington, and Samuel Montembeault. If you do have to have a goalie fight at the middle of the ice, Canada wins it with Binnington, hands down, no problem. But I don't believe that'll be happening here in this tournament.
That was, so the piece in The Athletic about, Logan Thompson and his character, and he's this isn't something new, I guess, if you follow that kind of stuff. Like he had his character stuff in Henderson, coaching staff side. Like they didn't say it was a problem that is, their previous encounters and relationships with him was a reason why he was not on this team. And then I looked at Jordan Binnington's name and went, okay, well, like did nobody, like maybe you had firsthand experience, right? Because DeBoer and Cassidy are on that team and they can obviously they've had firsthand experience with Logan Thompson, but like Jordan Binnington has had, experience in league-wide about the things that he does. Like, is he really that? Maybe he's a great teammate. I don't know. But Logan Thompson is winning hockey games. He's got one of the best save percentages in the league. All three of these goalies, their save percentage is like hovering around 900, which is not great. I understand the league save percentage is down, but when you're comparing these three goalies to the rest of the league, like this trio is the worst. There's no question about it. Canada's strength is not in goal. So,
but they're so strong up front, and then the blue line it compensates.
They are. Look, this is Colorado Avalanche when they won the Stanley Cup. Darcy Kemper wasn't there to assist, but I mean, look, this is what the team is. You need one of those guys to step up. You need somebody to go out there and make a difference. If it's Aiden Hill, great. If Jordan Binnington isn't fighting somebody at center ice, great. If it's Sam Montembeault because you got to go that way, fine. But somebody's got to stand on their head a little bit here for Canada.
And the thing is, it's such a short tournament. Like people say, only play the hot hand. Well, I mean, there's not really enough time for a hand to get hot. Like somebody comes out of the gate strong, sure, you're going to stick with that hand, but you really don't have time to figure out who's going to be playing. You basically got to figure out who's playing the best hockey going into the tournament over that last couple of games here. And that's going to be your hand probably. Our buddy Marek, not Marek Malik, but Marek Doucet saying hi. Marek Malik, one of the all-time great shootout goals that I missed because I had to go to a Sweet 16. I distinctly remember that. So let's go to another slide here. Team Sweden, who's had some injury replacements as well. Let's look at the top line there. Mika Zibanejad with William Nylander and Jesper Bratt. Elias Pettersson, Philip Forsberg, Lucas Raymond, your second line. That's pretty good there. Adrian Kempe, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Elias Lindholm is your third line. Victor Arvidsson, Leo Carlson in the middle, and Ricard Raquel, a.k.a. Dick Rack, is on that fourth line with Gustav Nyquist as the spare part there. Let's look at Victor Hedman and Rasmus Dahlin. That's a pretty top-notch defensive pairing there. Gustav Forsling will very much balance out all of Erik Karlsson's defensive deficiencies there. And then you got Matthias Ekholm with Rasmus Andersson and Jonas Brodin as the spare defenseman. Philip Gustafsson, Linus Ullmark, Samuel Ersson taking the place of Jacob Markstrom here. So that was a bit of a blow for Team Sweden because, a Gustafsson-Markstrom duo with Ullmark as the third is, maybe still recovering from injury, a little rusty or whatever. That's great. Not so much now. I mean, Gustafsson is probably going to have to just play every game.
Yeah, I mean, look, Team Sweden's strength is obviously on the back end. They have a ton of defensemen who are good defensively, excluding Erik Karlsson, of course. But like you said, Gustav Forsling will, protect him. They have every piece there. Those are very good puck moving, skating defensemen. So I'm not worried about them defensively. I'm not even worried about their goaltending, to be honest. Philip Gustafsson has played very, very well. Minnesota has been so banged up. He got slaughtered against Ottawa, and I mean, he's still made like 40 plus saves. So, and even if Linus Ullmark has to come in, Linus Ullmark has been good when he's played. He is, the Ottawa Senators are a better team when he is in the lineup. So I don't think there's anything there. It's going to come down to a question of whether Team Sweden can score enough. There is talent on that team. There are lots of guys who can put the puck in the back of the net there, right? Philip Forsberg can do that. Willie Nylander can do that. I'll throw Lucas Raymond into that conversation. He can. And, I mean, you have guys who can play both sides. I would probably move Elias Pettersson out of the middle, maybe have a little bit more stability down the middle. I would probably move Mika Zibanejad out of the middle. He has been cooking ever since he hasn't had any center responsibilities, right? But, someone like Elias Lindholm, Joel Eriksson Ek can kind of, they can play both sides of the ice, very responsible, see what Leo Carlsson's made of, right? He's going to get an opportunity here to play against the best players in the world. But this Team Sweden is very good. I know a lot of us are expecting Canada and the United States, as we should. The dark horse here for me would be Team Sweden because this is a team, they have pieces. Now you just need the pieces to, do what they got to do here.
I would say they probably have the most balance out of everybody in the tournament because, maybe Team USA would be second just because the Canadian goaltending really, it really is, you're so strong up front and on the blue line that it does counteract the goaltending. But when you look at this squad, you can roll all four of these lines. Yeah, Zibanejad has been cooking since being put on the right side. I was surprised to see NHL have him projected as the top center there at this point. But, it's the NHL.com projections. Take what you want out of them. I like the lines the way they are. This is going to be a tough team to play against. I don't think you're going to get a ton of goals against this team. Just from a gambling perspective, I think when Sweden's playing whoever, it's probably going to be more of an under there if it's like a 5.5 total. But yeah, I mean, they have a good squad. Sweden is one of those. They're not the best team in the tournament, but they can absolutely beat the best teams in the tournament.
They can. Again, this is a good goaltending, really good defensive core. I don't think people understand that there's a lot of good defensemen on that blue line, and they have guys who can put the puck in the net up front. That's what they may not have as many as Canada and the United States do, but they still have players who can do it. So now it's a question of those guys finding a way to do it. Simple as that.
I know it's a balanced blue line, but I do expect to see the lion's share of the minutes go to Hedman, Dahlin. They're going to run those guys out as much as they can, and maybe you try and catch the other team a little tired when you throw the Karlsson pairing out there and let them run. Looking at Finland here before we get to the Thursday night slate and say farewell for this edition of Total Hockey Now, episode 77. Probably the fourth out of four teams here. I don't think you're going to get an argument there, but they're still a tough team to play against. You got Barkov centering the top line between Arturi Lehkonen and Mikko Rantanen. That's as good a line as anybody in the tournament right there. Second line, Sebastian Aho with Patrick Laine and old Hurricane teammate Teuvo Teravainen. They're outflanking his right wing. Then you got Rupe Hintz, Mikael Granlund, and Capo Kakko as a third line there. And then we got a Panther fourth line with Luos Starainen and Anton Lundell, Yoel Armia from the Canadians, and Eric Howla as the spare forward. He has not been playing well for New Jersey lately, so not surprised to see him as the spare on the projections. This is where you look at the blue line and you go, okay, this is a gritty, tough blue line to play against. But without Miro Heiskanen, you just lost a significant player there and a significant presence because you're looking at Asa Lindell and Nico Mikkola as your top pairing, Oli Mata and Rasmus Ristolainen as your second, Juuso Välimäki and Henry Jokiharju as the Buffalo Sabres defenseman getting one of the injury replacement spots there for Jani Hakanpää. And then I can never say this guy's name for the Rangers. Vakanainen for the Rangers is the spare there. So, and then you're looking at UC Saros, Kevin Lankinen, and UPL from the Sabres there as the goaltenders. I saw an article saying that they should start Lankinen, and then if he has a bad start, you go to Saros. I'm sorry. Listen, I know it hasn't been a great year for UC Saros, but of those three, you have to go with Saros out of the gate.
I mean, Saros is the goalie until, even if he loses, you probably still run him out there. He's the best one. I'm going to say this as nicely as I can, Team Finland, but I don't think they win a game in this tournament. And it's just, they're offensively, this is they're not elite offensively. This isn't a goal scoring team. This is a team that's kind of like win by committee, right? They not going to take anything away from Barkov and Rantanen, but after that, I'll throw Sebastian Aho in there as well. But outside of that, it gets real thin real quick. This is a team that's going to spend most of its time defending. That blue line is like, we just saw a blue line and an elite one with Team Sweden, and then we see this. No, there's like that blue line. The loss of Miro Heiskanen is massive. He could play a bunch of minutes. He can contribute offensively. It's good defensively. We know that. All these guys here are, I mean, I don't want to say like not relevant, but they're not top pairing guys for their teams, right? For their home clubs. So now they come in here, they got to play the best. If you grind this defense down, you'll get your chances. You just got to work them a little bit. You got to work Team Finland, and if you do with speed, get it deep, move them around, which some teams may not want to play because you're so talented. You think you can, just toe drag them, which again, maybe you can. But this Team Finland, the way you're going to beat them is you're going to have to run them down, and it starts with that back end. You got to just make life for them hard, because if they fall behind, they can't open the machine and start scoring goals. They do not have that. The more these games, like for Team Finland, if those games are close, right? So if you're going in at the end of the second and it's tied or they're down by one, then they have a chance. So you got to like suffocate them, and you got to come right out of the gate and take it to them, because you cannot give them any hope, because again, once they fall behind, it's done.
This is not to disrespect. These are all excellent defensemen in their usual roles on their teams. Yes. But just being real, compared to the other three teams in the tournament, Finland has 2 third-pairing defensemen and 3 spare skaters that would not be like that. Valimaki is a spare. It should probably be the 7th skater on this team. He should not be the 5th defenseman. But I mean, injuries necessitate that. But I mean, even if you plug Miro Heiskanen in this lineup, okay, they're better, but they're not. It's not a significantly improved blue line there. And your point about Finland's got to keep it close. There's a ton of skill on Canada and United States and Sweden, but that doesn't mean that they can't play heavy hockey. Like you said, get pucks deep against this team. Grind that defense down, because that's the one strength that this blue line has, is that they're a gritty group and that they're going to try and take the physical play to you. You bring the physical play to them and grind them down. Now that opens things up to be fast and be skilled in the zone. So that's how you beat Finland. I agree. I don't know if they win a game in this tournament. Maybe they can squeak something out against Sweden and the rivalry factor there, because those two always play a good game. There's no way I could pick Finland to beat Canada or United States. And it would be like a long shot upset, feeling good to pick them to beat Sweden. So State of Survivor wants to know what happens to the pool during this break. The fantasy hockey pool, what happens is nothing really. If you're in a weekly league, I know what they're doing is they're combining last week and then the week they come back, I think, like the first few games after that. So that it's like 3 weeks condensed down into 2 if it's a weekly league. But otherwise, fantasy hockey's on a hold it's on a hiatus for about 8 days while the tournament's going on. So
I think they treat it like they do the All-Star game, where it's kind of like one of those like split weeks where they just take that week and they combine it with the other one, and then they just roll it out.
It's either that or 2 short weeks, or they combine it.
I will say this though about Team Finland though, like they may not win a game, but I don't think they get blown out either. No. Like they'll be there. They might not have the step that they need to be able to compete with the teams that are going to score. You're going to score goals because they're the best players in the world all together playing at once. And I just don't think Team Finland has that. Like, they don't have that gear that if they need to get there, they can. If Finland, like, let's say they take the lead at any point against any team, they could shut you down and make life real difficult real quick. Like, you can't fall behind a team Finland by like 1 or 2 goals, because then they will just
clamp.
They will suffocate you. You will have no space, and there's nothing elite players love more than not having space to do things, right? They don't want to chip and chase all the time, but like, this Finland team is very grindy, very like get pucks deep kind of team. So we'll see how they do, but I'm not optimistic for them.
I'll say this, and I'm not saying they have the center group of USA or Canada, but Barkov, Aho, Granlund, Lundell, and Hintz, also a decent center that gets bumped to the wing. They may have a better center group than Sweden. I have no problem saying that, and that's the one. If strength down the middle, that's going to keep them in the games. Like you said, they probably won't win, but they're not going to lose 5-1. That's just not going to happen. I mean, maybe if game 3, who do they play the last game? They play Canada. If they lose the first 2, that's maybe one game I could see maybe turning into a blowout, but I just can't see anything there. So we're saying Finland 4th, okay? So U.S. Canada, U.S. Sweden, Canada Sweden. Who we got winning these games here? Who do we have in the championship here? Are we going USA Canada to meet on Thursday the 20th?
That's my assumption. That would be my guess. Yes. Who takes it from there? We'll see how goaltending does, but I would expect a Canada USA final. That's how I see it. I can't, but I would be surprised, like I said, if Sweden squeaks in here, right? And you have to win in regulation. So the NHL has at least, right? So the way the points are awarded, you get 3 points for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime win, you get 1 for the overtime loss, none for a loss. So, which is how it should be anyways, but it's good that the NHL says, hey, this is probably the most fair way to do things. So you have to win in regulation. And again, if you can drag some of these teams to overtime, maybe we also see some of those like close games where it's at the end, depending on what teams need, what situations to happen. Maybe we see a little bit more of those, teams open up. Sometimes it's the late in the game, you're just trying to go to overtime, collect your point, and then deal with it afterwards. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of open hockey here kind of flow towards the end of games.
And what you might also see, too, is a team that's in desperation mode. Like, we need that 3rd point. We can't let it go to overtime because we got to get all 3. That'll add another element to it, too. And, yes, USA-Canada is going to be the big game of the tournament. But Canada-Sweden, USA-Sweden, those are going to be the games that really decide who's going to be in the championship round. So
maybe we pull a goalie in overtime. You know what I mean? Just extend it. Have a little bit of chaos. I'm here for it.
That's the thing. Like, it's a tournament with, there's no implications other than bragging rights and all that stuff. So teams are going to go out. Teams are going to try things that they wouldn't necessarily do in an NHL regular season game or a playoff game. So I'm just excited. I just hope that the tournament actually has good hockey and it doesn't become like a boring thing, but I just don't think that's going to happen with the caliber of play we're going to have here. So there we go. Let's talk a little Thursday night preview. There's 9 games on the slate. We'll breeze through the ones that we don't really have a vibe on. Let's talk about the first one here. Utah Columbus. Utah is a -150 road favorite at Columbus, +137. Totals 5.5. If you're looking to make a puck line bet, this is one of the if it would help if I had the right screen up, let me have that. If you're looking to maybe make some money with Utah to cover a puck and a half, they're +169 here. Starting in net tonight for these two teams, we are looking at a matchup between Connor Ingram and Elvis Merzlikins. We all know Columbus is terrible on the road. And no Shane Monahan, but a team like Utah at home, that's that heavy of a favorite. I'm kind of tempted to go with the Blue Jackets on the money line here.
I would say yes. So the Blue Jackets at home are a completely different beast. Whether they win or lose, like, it's a good bet to start with. Columbus is that much better. Werenski is expected to play. I know Columbus is dealing with injuries. It is what it is, but Utah is just like, that's too much. That's too much of a favorite here against Columbus, who is statistically much better on home. I would probably look at the alternate puck line, which is the Columbus. So Columbus -1.5. So instead of them trying to cover it, have them win by 2, which is +290 over on Bet365. So if you're going to go with Columbus, right, I would double down here and say, hey, Columbus to win by more than a goal.
Now, these two teams just met on January 31st. There was a 3-2 overtime loss Utah won 3-2 in overtime, I should say. I really don't see like why they are such heavy favorites here because, yes, they just beat Philadelphia 3-2, but they had lost 4 games before that, 2 of those in overtime. And, yeah, if you look at the opponents, it was St. Louis, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Ottawa, Winnipeg. Winnipeg is the only one of those teams that you could say is a really good team right now. I know Ottawa's playing well, too. But, yeah, I just don't see why they're such heavy favorites there. I like them on the money line. Chris is saying that go get the opposite puck line and get Columbus to cover a puck and a half at plus, what, 290, you said?
Plus 290. You can get 2 carton of eggs.
Now, if we're going to adapt my, rematch rule, because they did meet a handful of games ago, so I think we're still within that window. Last game went under. I'd be tempted to look at the over here if you're looking for another way to play this game. We'll stay with the Metropolitan Division here with Columbus at home. We got Washington and Philly. Washington, of course, a minus 151 road favorite at Philly, who is a 138 money line underdog. Total 5.5. And if you think the Capitals can cover on the puck line, it's plus 165. So looking at this matchup here, you got Charlie Lindgren going against Ivan Fedotov. I looked at this and I think, maybe like a Washington win in regulation plus 105 would be an okay way to go. I don't know about the puck line. If it was Thompson, maybe I go puck line. Lindgren, I think the Capitals can still take care of business in regulation. So get a slight plus money there at plus 105. That's the way I'd go.
Could not care about this game in the least. I don't trust the Philadelphia Flyers. I think there's just Washington probably wins it. I just don't know if I want to lay that kind of money on them on the money line. The in regulation scares me because this game could bore you to death and then you end up in a shootout for some reason. Just not enough for me to really care about whatever is going on here. There's better matchups. If I'm going to spend my money, I'm going to go on something where I can find some good value. To me, there's nothing here that I'm absolutely feeling. I was like, hey, I got to throw money here.
All right, now we've got a Metropolitan going here. We got another Metropolitan team at home tonight. The New Jersey Devils taking on the Vegas Golden Knights, who are in the midst of an East Coast road trip. Lost to the Rangers, lost to the Islanders. They are slight favorites on the road, minus 110 to the Devils, plus 100. Looking at the puck line here, if you want to get some plus money, Vegas minus a puck and a half is plus 224. Looking at the goaltending matchup tonight, it's Aiden Hills versus Nico Dawes. I think this is a get-right spot for Vegas here. I don't want to necessarily take them in regulation or to cover on a puck line. Jersey's got Dawes going. I think Vegas maybe gets off the schneid here. Minus 110. Not a bad way to go here. I know they haven't looked good lately, but neither of the Devils. So this is a good get-right spot.
I will play devil's advocate here and take the Devils. Vegas is not good on the road. They don't play the same when they go on the road. They haven't been good. They lost to the Islanders and they lost to the Rangers. That's you can't do that. You can't lose to, the Islanders are apparently good now. The Rangers are wagon. So, but Vegas is just not. And I know some people want to look at Nico Dawes as a downgrade. Jake Allen, my apologies, by the way, to the New Jersey Devils community, because I picked up Jake Allen in fantasy hockey, and he has been absolutely miserable. So he was really good against Montreal. I was like, fine. Markstrom's hurt. I should probably take Jake Allen. I know he's going to play well. He's going to see the bulk of the starts. He's going to help upgrade that 3rd-round pick to a 2nd-round pick. And then all he has done has been miserable since. So that is my fault. I apologize. So I see this as a positive that Jake Allen is not starting. I have the Devils winning.
All right. A rare opposite here. We had a couple of those last week, but it doesn't happen often. So I'm on the Vegas side. He's on the Jersey side. We all know Ant Rivera is on the Jersey side. So we'll see who's right tonight. Looking at Ottawa, Tampa Bay here. These two just met on Tuesday night. We got Forsberg going against Andrei Vasilevsky here. Ottawa plus 144. Tampa minus 158 favorite at home. Looking for a little positive money on the puck line. Tampa to cover a puck and a half plus 161. For me, this is very much we're going total here. Game went over last time. I'm going to go under 6 here at minus 120. I think, Tampa Bay here with Vasilevsky. I'll play unders more when Vasilevsky's starting if I'm looking at Tampa Bay.
I'll actually go for the puck line on the Tampa Bay side. Tampa Bay is a better team at home. They can score goals. Vasilevsky is a brick wall. Ottawa scored 4, but they have been well, what's the word that I would use? Horrendous scoring goals in 2025. This has been a terrible offensive team. They've been a little bit better, but that's because they were so bad. So I feel like Tampa Bay can really run it to them. I'm not buying Ottawa's success. I'm not buying Anton Forsberg for a minute. It might take an empty net to get there, but Tampa Bay's puck line is where I'm going. I believe Tampa Bay will have the lead heading into late into the third period. Ottawa's going to pull a goalie because they have no choice, and Tampa Bay usually finds a way to, hit that number. I can't. It might be a high scoring affair, but I see Tampa Bay being able to cover the puck line.
Ottawa has been doing a better job putting the puck in the net lately. So before that 3-4 loss to the Lightning, they beat Nashville 5-2, Minnesota 6-0, Washington 5-4. But then it was a lot of low-scoring hockey for up for about the half a month before that. So this is just my opposite in a back-to-back. So that's why I'm going under here. There we go. Carolina, Minnesota coming up next year. Carolina, a -184 road favorite at a banged up Wild +167, 5.5 total there. You're looking to make some money on a positive puck line play. You're going to have to take Carolina to cover a puck and a half at +143. Looking at the goaltending matchup for tonight, we are looking at Philip Gustafson. Nothing confirmed for the Hurricanes yet, so maybe Freddie Anderson, maybe Kochetkov. But either way, this is a stay away game for me. If you want to look at the under at 5.5, sure. But I mean, with the way Minnesota is playing, I don't like the look of this game. If I did have to play, it would be an under 5.5.
Yeah, I don't like the way Minnesota's been playing of late. They got absolutely steamrolled by the Ottawa Senators, and I just don't know what I'm expecting from Minnesota. I guess if you want, you can take Carolina in regulation, but again, I feel like this game will be close. So I don't. Again, there's better value elsewhere. You don't have to play this one. I don't care much for this game. I just don't know. The uncertainty of the Minnesota Wild is the problem here. If I could assure that they were good or bad, either one. Like I don't think they're as bad as they were against Ottawa, but I don't necessarily think they're very good without Kirill Kaprizov. So, could this be a goaltending battle? Maybe, but it could also be 4-0 in the first period for Carolina. Who knows?
Yeah, there we go. Again, I think if you like defensive hockey, this is a game for you. It's not a game I'm really looking at money here to play. Looking at the next game on the docket here, the Florida Panthers are -167 money line favorites at St. Louis +152, total 5.5. Spencer Knight going to get the start tonight against Joel Hofer, so we're going to have a couple of backup goalies going at it here in the Gateway City tonight. I really got no play here. I mean, maybe this goes under just because St. Louis has been having trouble scoring lately. And Florida, after giving up 6 goals the other night, is probably going to want to buckle down defensively. So I look at the total here at an under 5.5 at +105. But we'll see how this goes. I wouldn't. That's more of like a half unit play if you're going to do it. It's not what I'm confident in, but I do like it.
Probably the under here. Not a full egg, maybe egg whites there, because it could be Joel Hofer's not terrible. I mean, he's been better than Bennington statistically ish. So maybe that. Same thing with Spencer Knight. He's been good. So maybe a low scoring affair. Same thing. I don't like this game. I probably won't even watch it. Not a single second of it.
See, I have the 7:30 game local time in my Thursday night hockey league, so I'll catch some of the East Coast action, but I probably will miss whatever West Coast action here. And this game is probably not going to get seen for me. 3 games to go here before we wrap things up on this edition of Total Hockey Now. That's at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Merez. I'm at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Let's go to Colorado Calgary matchup here. Colorado -149 money line. A lot of road favorites today at Calgary +136. Total is 6 in this one. Goaltending matchup. It looks like Mackenzie Blackwood for the Avalanche. Dustin Wolf confirmed for the Flames. You're looking for a little positive puck line money here. Colorado to cover a puck and a half +168. This is a game I'm staying away from. Colorado did not look good against Vancouver the other night. They could bounce back here against Calgary. Stay away spot for me. I mean, the regulation win for Colorado's +100. So unless you're looking at the puck line, I'm not really looking at this one.
You said the key word there. Colorado did not look good against Vancouver, and Vancouver did not have Quinn Hughes in the lineup, and they still couldn't score. Colorado is not the same team when they are on the road. This is a team that doesn't have enough depth to be competitive. So to me, it's the under here. The 6 is a little too it's a little too high. Like the Calgary Flames are one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. So I don't know where all that offense is coming from. And Colorado is just not the same team on the road. They don't give up a ton of goals, but they do not score enough to be like I don't know why the total's so high. I think there should have been a 5.5 total. So 6, you get the little bit of protection there. I will also take Calgary straight up on the money line here. I think if this game is close, then it's good. It might take a little bit of extra fun to get there, but Calgary can win this game. They're deep enough. They got just enough up front to make it worth their while. Defensively, they're good, and Wolf has been great. So they got all the little pieces that you want to see for a team. If I'm going to get them at that big of a underdog, like I feel like this one should be a little bit closer. Like probably like not maybe a coin flip, but like closer. So I'll take Calgary. I'll take the under here. Something like a 4-1 final would be great.
And I don't want to say Calgary has looked good as of late, but up until the second period of the Maple Leafs game the other night when the wheels just kind of came off for them, they had been pretty competitive before that. They beat Seattle 3-2. Tough game against Detroit they dropped. They beat the Ducks 4-1. They only lose 3-1 to the Capitals. So they had been they're more competitive. Again, I'm not going to say they're playing good, but up until the second period against the Leafs the other night, they had been playing better hockey. Speaking of those Leafs, they continue out west. They are minus 160 road for another road favorite at Seattle, plus 146. The total there being total is 6. Looking at the goaltending matchup for tonight, Joey Decord likely. We got Anthony Stolarz in net for the Maple Leafs tonight, so good to see him back. You're looking for some positive puck line money here. You're looking at the Leafs minus a puck and a half at plus 173. I had the Leafs initially to win in regulation at plus 105. That was before I saw the Stolarz news. He's back. I think I might even I want to go to a puck line bet here. Plus 173. I know Seattle's tough. They play good defense. I think maybe Toronto builds off that momentum of the last 2 periods in the Calgary game on Tuesday night.
This was close. I'm just going to stay away from it. I don't like Stolarz has been out a long time. I'm worried about a little bit of rust. Like Seattle's offense is putrid. It's terrible. They don't score, but I don't like maybe the under, but also like Stolarz could get lit up. So I don't know what's going to happen in this game. And there's too much uncertainty. So probably the under if you wanted to have fun, stay up late, watch Seattle play hockey, watch Toronto play hockey. But if not, there's just nothing here that really excites me.
Now, for our final game, we got Stolarz returning for the Maple Leafs tonight. Another goalie returning is Vitek Vanacek for the San Jose Sharks. He'll be in net tonight when they host the Vancouver Canucks at home. Another road favorite, heavy road favorite here. Vancouver minus 198 to San Jose plus 179. Total is 5.5. You're looking for some positive puck line money. I mean, this just gives you an idea. Yeah, the Canucks to cover a puck and a half is plus 128. So, I mean, that's a pretty low number for a minus puck and a half there. So that gives you an idea of just how bad the Sharks are. But Vanacek back in net. They do play, we'll say, better with Vanacek there than they do with Georgiev. No coincidence there. But this is just a total stay away spot for me. I am not picking anything here. I mean, yes, Vancouver looked good the other night. You want to take a stab on them at the puck line because that's the only value you're really going to find. Or if you think the Sharks are going to continue to stink and you want to go up to, cover 2.5, on an all puck line, go for it. But I'm not playing this one.
I can't get behind the Vancouver Canucks, not with the way that they've been playing all year. I most certainly cannot get behind the San Jose Sharks because that's insanity, trying to believe that they can be relevant. Like you just don't know what you're going to get from them. It's not Georgiev, because if it was Georgiev, then we could just pound the over and pound Vancouver, but that's not the case here. So probably smart to just spend more money on something else and just watch this game. I just can't get behind Vancouver here. Maybe in regulation, if that's the way you want to go. I just don't know if they cover the puck line. I don't even know if they cover it in regulation. The Vancouver could probably lose this game. Like, that wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me.
It wouldn't shock me, especially with Vanacek going tonight, because a couple times I've watched them play with Vanacek, they're a better team with him. But he's going to be rusty. He hasn't played in 6 weeks, so we'll see how that goes. So there you go. There's a 9-game preview for tonight's slate. If you're looking to, deciding if you want to save your money for tomorrow, you got 5 games on the docket. Pittsburgh Rangers, Islanders at Jets, Predators at Blackhawks, Avalanche at Oilers, and the nightcap, Stars Kings. That should be a good one to end your Friday night, whether you're on the East or the West Coast, if you could stay awake for that. So there you go. Before we wrap things up here, another interesting comment in the chat from our guy, State of Survival, one of the, maybe we'll say 2,000 Islander fans that we know of that exist. FYI, Isles Rumor Mill says Lou is looking at Jordan Kyrou.
I hope not.
I mean, I understand in terms of what he brings as an offensive injection for a team that is up until recently been devoid of offense. But why would St. Louis move Kyrou if they still feel like they've got a chance at maybe sneaking a playoff spot? I don't know.
No, not. I don't want to have to watch Islanders hockey to watch Jordan Kyrou. It would be nice, but I feel like both those teams don't deserve anything. Like St. Louis as well. St. Louis is not a team I watch very often, and it's not because they're not on. It's because there's a lot of other things I'd much rather watch than St. Louis play hockey. So Jordan Kyrou should be freed. We should get him somewhere where the scoring is elevated, but I don't know. It would be it would be nice to see him though on a wing with Bo Horvat.
That would be a winning combo right there. The Islanders wanting him makes sense, but if St. Louis still feels like they have a chance, I can't see them moving him. I will say, I know you're not a big Blues fan. I am becoming a big Dylan Holloway guy. I'm really enjoying watching him. He has been quite the pickup there for St. Louis on the offer sheet from Edmonton. Maybe they didn't need a Holloway with the depth they have at forward, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind having him. Saying harsh there. Listen, I mean, it's not been a good year for the Islanders, nonetheless.
And yet here they are being somewhat relevant. They turned Tony DeAngelo into a serviceable defenseman in 2025. He left Russia, came to New York, and he's actually played well. And I'm like, wow.
He had that goal out of the penalty box the other night, heads up hockey play. He just went cherry picked. They found him and he put it in.
The Islanders are winning games. He hasn't fought any of his teammates. I mean, Lou's not giving the stare down from like the Zamboni entrance or something. Just Islanders are just there.
Maybe that's, like DeAngelo has had he's worn his welcome out in multiple locker rooms in multiple countries. I would think there are some scary individuals in Russia, but if Lou Lamoriello is my boss, maybe that's the guy Tony DeAngelo needed to be like, all right, I'm going to keep my mouth shut a little bit more than I usually do.
Tony might end up fighting Patrick Waugh, considering how much of a character Waugh has.
You would think a guy with the last name DeAngelo should understand the capabilities of a guy with the last name of Lamoriello. Maybe that's all he needed, was a bigger threat in the room.
I will respect Tony DeAngelo for one thing, though. He did get to play with Ivan Demidov. He has said nice things about Demidov on X. So he is what he is, but he's an Ivan Demidov supporter. So that has me as a fan. So there you go.
There you go. Your guy, Ivan Demidov. And that's going to do it for this edition of Total Hockey Now. You can always reach out to the show, totalhockeynow@gmail.com. You got us all over X, X, Facebook, YouTube at Total Hockey Now. New episode of Rip and Riff came out earlier this week. We're talking Super Bowl, of course. Big week, some nice hits in the football card section there. Slapshot podcast. What do we got going on here?
Whatever trade breaks Friday. That's it. Saturday morning, you'll have to find out whatever trade comes. That's been it. I prepare everything, and then Friday night shows up, and some elite superstar is changing cities. So why prepare when I can just wait last minute and find out that? And of course, the disappointment of Puck Doku.
Now, are you happy that the Four Nations Face-Off has acted like a mini pre-trade deadline? Because I have. People are worried that there's going to be nothing left come actual trade deadline time. I don't necessarily buy that. I've enjoyed this preview of what the deadline is going to be.
Look, I think more and more teams are making earlier trades to help players get accustomed to their, new cities. It's tough, man, moving. It's tough. Players will tell you that. It's tough having to uproot your life, take it all, take like 5 pairs of underwear in a suitcase and, go across the country and stuff. It's tough. So I think more and more teams want to get it done earlier, have it settle out, let the guys settle in for a little bit more, help them for a longer period of time. It's, for some teams, it's better to do it now, jump the gun, get your guy, and then lock in. That way you can take all the distraction away from it. You can kind of like internally, I guess, say, hey, we'll listen, but we're done. You know what I mean? Kind of makes everybody feel good.
And the other reason I like acting earlier, if you know you have a need that you're going to address come trade deadline in March, you've got an opportunity to take care of it. Why wait? I mean, it's just going to give you more chance to improve that area of your roster you're lacking with that player you're targeting to get more points in the. Now, granted, there's that week and a half off with the Four Nations face-off, but you can get more points now than you can before the deadline because there's only so many games left after the deadline. So you got, if you're, we knew JT Miller with the Rangers and the Canucks that was happening, but like the Dallas Stars, perfect example. Granlund playing well. CC, we knew was getting flipped the second that they got him from Edmonton and San Jose. Dallas is a team that's very much in the mix. They go, they've been dealing with some depth injuries up at the forward position. They go out, they get Granlund, who's a great Swiss Army knife. They get CC, who's going to, hey, you lost Miro Heiskanen. He's not replacing Heiskanen, but he's an adequate defenseman, especially in that system. So, Dallas, a perfect example there of knowing we're going to need to make upgrades. Why are we going to wait a month? Let's do it now.
Yeah. There you go. Go out, get your guy. You know what you want. Go out, get it. Don't wait.
And we're going to be back here, Total Hockey Now. Next week, we got some things to figure out between this and the Slapshot podcast with Anthony on hiatus, but we've got Four Nations face-off next week. So we will be back, whether that's before the first game Wednesday, before the USA game Thursday, or maybe even Friday on the day off. We'll figure that out. That's First 91. I am at Talking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode of Total Hockey Now. You're on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for the comments, whether you're live on replay. We love you. Appreciate the support. Thank you.